Well, good morning, Kelowna, Victoria, and Penticton, and we are glad to be back in the saddle after a very rare Saturday when the two of us weren't here, which is quite rare. I think in all the time we've been on since 1983, I think we've sort of had to do a recorded show maybe twice or something like that, maybe three times, but whatever. We're back here live, so the calls are very, very much appreciated. We always love to hear from you. So the numbers to get through, of course, are 250-862-2525 or long-distance toll-free 1-888-780-4273. First off, tips and plants of the week.
You betcha.
Well, my tip of the week is don't get too serious about fall cleanup in the garden. There's a benefit to retaining some of that leaf debris, and it's kind of a natural process. And so, cleanup is important, but you want to leave some of that stuff, to just kind of cook away in the ground. And I think that's a good plan. My plant of the week is the Azekium ritteri. This is a cactus. I don't even have a common name for it, but it's a cactus endemic to the Sierra Madre Oriental in the state of Nuevo Leon, Mexico. And it is a fantastic plant I'm going to talk about. It's one of the plants I got from the Dwayne Amundrud collection, which I'm very, very honored to have some in my little greenhouse from his collection. And we'll talk about that as well when the show continues. And Ken?
There you go. All righty, I also have a tip and a plant this week, and my tip of the week is that it's time to get your tropical plants and patio plants inside. Last night, we had a little bit of a chilly evening. This morning when I got up, it was 3 degrees Celsius. That's 3 degrees above freezing, and that's a little cold for some of these tropicals. So I know what I'm doing today is I'm going to make sure I get everything in that I want to keep over winter. All right, now my plant of the week is the Euphorbia Sticks of Fire. And we just did a quick little video, you and I, this week, Don, and looking at this incredibly strange-looking plant that looks like coral. It literally grows like a coral stick kind of looking thing, but all the tips grow this corally red on the tips. And it's a lovely thing. It's very cool. It's very strange. It's just a neat plant to grow. It's a succulent, so not bad. Pretty easy to grow. So Sticks of Fire, it's an interesting one. And that's my tips and plans for this week. Remember to check growercoach.com and Grower Coach on YouTube.
Well, I'll tell you, that is a great plant, and it is a typical euphorbia. Bleeds white sap when and a lot of the euphorbias, the sap is a bit of an irritant. That's why the Euphorbia pulcherrima, the poinsettia, gets a bad rap, because some euphorbias are a little toxic, on the toxic side. The Euphorbia pulcherrima, the poinsettia, isn't that group.
Isn't one of those.
It's not in that group.
No, but a lot of people really believe it is.
Oh, yeah.
And you'll hear them go on and on about how poisonous poinsettias are, and it's like, they're not poisonous, man.
Yeah, well. We've got Ariel joining us. Good morning, Ariel. You're up and at it this morning?
I love you guys. You're just so funny. Okay, here I am again. I'll tell you what. Veronica spicata glory, my royal candle speedwells, the hoary stalks, and the delphiniums defeated me with this mildew thing. And I've been doing all kinds of research, and there's all kinds of different things to tell you what to do. So, other than ripping them out and never having them again in my garden, which I don't want to do, what exactly would you recommend? I know you've said different things, and I've done different things and all of that. So what would be your plan for these 3 plants?
Well, one of the things I would suggest is make sure you do. Here's my tip of the week. Don't do too much garden cleanup. My tip of the week for you is to clean that up thoroughly this fall.
That's what I was going to say. Get rid of those. Get rid of every leaf this fall that's on the ground and around the area. Cut it right to the ground. Get rid of them. And then remember that the disease comes about because of weather conditions. And so that just because we have we do have bad powdery mildew this year because of bad weather conditions, but it doesn't mean we're going to have that next year. So,
and also, as Ken has often said, prevention is the cure. for mildew. I mean, you got to prevent it because once you get it, it's really hard to suppress it. But preventing it with the materials that Ken has suggested over the years, and I have on my sheet, I put my sheet together with some of his information and my information. And
could I get that?
Of course, yeah. Just email me and I'll send it to you.
Oh, okay. Because like I said, there's all kinds of different methods they've got, and I want to know what the best one is, and you guys should know.
Well, it's a very non-toxic method. Years ago, of course, we had all sorts of things like Benamil and Funginex and all those things. Those things are now off the market, and good thing they are. So this mixture that we've suggested here is more of a home mixture. We don't recommend home mixtures that much, but this particular one is so innocuous that, and it works.
Yeah.
Good. So you've got directions about when to do it and how many times and all that.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's slightly different with different types of plants. Like if I was doing zucchinis, I'd be doing it, right out of the gate in the springtime. But it may be one of these things. It all depends on how much you hate that mildew. And, and the more consistent you are with applying these products, like this is a baking soda product I think we're talking about. There's also a couple other ones that work as well. It's getting something on to coat the leaves to prevent the disease from coming in the first place. And so if you have some sort of coating on the leaves, it can't come in. And so baking soda is one of the easiest ones to use, and it's actually just mixed with water and spritzed over the plant. And it's just depending how fast the plant is growing. If it's growing really quickly, well, then you got to spray it more often. And if it's in a state where it's not growing so much, well, then you can go maybe every 2 weeks or so. But out of the gate, it's a couple times a week, twice a week.
And there's also some stuff I've been reading too that says that overhead sprinkling is a cause, but whereas when you do drip line, which we don't have, we have overhead sprinkling.
No, the overhead sprinkling is a bit of a myth, and that's sort of one of the things how I can tell if the information that I'm reading about is accurate or not. But I know I've been educated in powdery mildew and how it grows and whatnot, so I feel like I can tell that. I don't expect everybody to understand that. But that overhead spraying and sprinkling of the plants is actually one of the methods that prevents the disease. It washes the spores off the leaves, so it reduces the opportunity for the disease to come in. And it's one of these things that's just totally opposite to what most people would think. But mildew is not reliant on moisture in any way to set foot on your plants. So it's not a moisture thing. It's strictly an air temperature thing.
Well, thank you very much.
And the difference in air.
Yeah.
Okay, and I wanted to tell you guys that I let my marshmallows just grow this year, and you can't believe them. They're about 4 feet, 5 feet tall.
Yeah.
And they're beautiful, and everybody wants them. They want to know what they are, and I've got hundreds and millions of seeds now.
Oh, yeah. Is yours the sort of purpley pink one?
Yes. Oh, it's so beautiful. They're so beautiful. No. Oh, my gosh. They're really great. Anyway, there you go, you guys.
Thanks for the call, Ariel.
You have a great day. Bye-bye.
Take care.
Thanks for calling.
I've had mildew on my zinnias this year, which is not normal for me.
Yeah.
There's mildew on several other plants that isn't normal. It's just the season. It's hard to say. Sometimes I'm thinking it's the August is the big come on with mildew, like cool evenings, warm days.
It's a max. Yeah, I think you have to have 12 hours of daily temperature that ranges between 18 and 25 degrees Celsius in that range. So it has to have long periods. Right, the sweet spot, as far as I've seen, is 20 degrees Celsius. And that's the sweet spot. So if you can get and there's days right now, well, now it's cooling off more at night and having nice warm days. Actually, you don't get 12 hours right now that's in that sweet spot. Yeah. But we sure did in August. Yeah. We would have 14, 16 hours a day sitting in that 20, 22 degree range. And that's just, you're just asking for it. So it's during those times. And also, in late spring, say around the end of May or early June, you'll sometimes get the same issues. But anyway, we do our best, and we do the best we can. Try a few things. It certainly doesn't hurt. And spraying the plants off with water is something that's done. Like even in professional growing operations, they'll go in with spray and just spray everything down.
I found a little bit of hydrogen peroxide also is quite effective against that kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's an amazing product. We'll talk a little bit about that at some point, but it's an amazing product. We're going to take a short break here, and we'll be back with the Garden Show after this short break. My plant of the week, the Aztekium, is very rare, and it was one of the plants that I got from the Dwayne Amundrud collection, and I'm trying to share as much as I can with Ken here because it's amazing. The plants that Dwayne had saved and grown and propagated over the years. Now, he lost an entire greenhouse back in the 90s.
Oh,
he lost. He started playing around with plants when he was 14 years old.
Wow.
His mother was a plant crazed person, and so Dwayne started playing with plants when he was about 14 years old. And collecting. His collection went way back there. In the 90s, he was in his 30s, and he had a greenhouse chock full of really exotic succulents and tropicals and whatnot. He went away, and somebody was looking after the greenhouse while he was away on a vacation, and froze the greenhouse out.
Oh, no.
And he's never been away since.
No, that's what I was going to say. That was a rookie mistake, man. Never, ever, ever, ever take a holiday.
Yeah, don't take a holiday. When you have a plant collection, you can't take a holiday.
What's more important, life or botany?
Well,
botany definitely rules.
I know, but here's the deal. With my greenhouse, I have so many fail-safes. I've got double fail-safes, checks and balances, just like our dear government,
but even,
all the checks and
with
balances.
That, though, right? Human error comes in, and you get somebody in there who's a rookie at it, and they're like, did he tell me to leave this switch on or off? And then it's like, was that an on? Is that supposed to be on or off? And then 50-50, I'll just flick it off. And then off they go. And at night it goes to, minus whatever, freezing cold, and the emergency backup system doesn't work.
I know, but here's the deal. My go-to guy, of course, is and your friend and my brother-in-law, Don Stoles. Yeah. And he's pretty sharp. And
he's running greenhouses.
The other go-to is right now I can look on my phone and tell what the temperature is in that greenhouse. I can look on my phone, tell what the temperature is outside the greenhouse. And I can obviously if I get an alarm and the temperature goes down, I can phone the person that's looking after the greenhouse. I have a backup generator all ready to go. Pull the cord and plug it in, and pull two switches, and you've got it covered. It automatically feeds to the right circuits, and if that's if the power goes out. If that was that noise you heard, that was the sensor push in the greenhouse saying that the greenhouse is down below the set temperature, because I haven't got the heat on right now.
Right.
I haven't turned the heat on. So the set temperature is 13 degrees.
Right.
So who cares right now if it goes down below 13 degrees? It doesn't matter. But in the wintertime, if it goes down to 13 degrees, the heater's shut off. So that gives you a time to mitigate the problem, to get in there.
Right.
If the electricity goes off, I have a backup power thing to make sure that I still get my signal. Like the thing has a battery powered backup,
right?
So I still get the signal over the internet. And so if the electricity goes off, then that's when you fire up the generator.
But does your router then, because is it wired in or is it wireless?
It's wired in, but it's wired in through one of those things that have a backup.
Battery
backup.
Huh.
Yeah.
Cool.
Both. Both are.
Both are.
Just for this purpose. Otherwise, I don't care if the TV doesn't work. Doesn't matter.
Yep.
But the greenhouse, the plants, they're precious. So when we go away in March, we're hoping to go to Florida in March. That's when it's going to be dicey, because when you're away during those times when it can freeze at night, that's when it's dicey.
Yeah.
Middle of winter is even more concerning, but we just don't go away in the middle of the winter because of the plants. Mm-hmm. But if the furnace, if the gas-fired furnace, or a little Modine heater, if it fails, if something screws up in it, the temperature will drop too, and it'll tell me. But I have a backup 220 electric heater in there. Mm-hmm. Now, if both of them go.
Yeah, well, you'll be out there building a little fire or something.
Or racing the plants into the house. Whatever.
Yeah.
It's scary. It's scary.
Yep.
But, it's nothing to what we used to deal with. We used to deal with an acre of greenhouse with hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of plants.
Oh, yeah. That was like, you had to be, it wasn't hard to sleep, except that you had to be ready to wake up at any moment. And we're lucky enough, though, to have those simple alarm systems that we had. We had the little mercury switch thing that would go, and that would set off whenever the temperature went to a certain range, and we'd get an alarm. And I remember that was like a battery-powered thing, too. It wasn't reliant on electricity or anything.
No.
It was just a battery. We ran that long, long wire, and
all
it
the way
would
from
set
the greenhouse to the house.
Ding, 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 little bell would go off. I did the same when I had my greenhouse operation. I had the same little mercury switch so that when it went below 5 degrees Celsius, it would send me a ding-ding right in my house, power or not. And, I was out that door like a rocket.
Don't have to worry as much about it when you're in Victoria.
Yeah.
You're blessed there with winters that, you do get some frost and you get cold. Mm-hmm. And there was incidences last year. I mean, Brian Minter talked about some of the losses that they suffered in Chilliwack last year. We all suffered losses in that, and because it's all relative. I mean, in Victoria, the folks there, they have citrus and things like that normally we couldn't leave outside
and
over the
even
winter.
Those laurels, the Prunus laurocerasus, they suffered bad, especially in the Fraser Valley there. Many of them died out. Yeah,
the Rainvania would have been all right, but there's lots of varieties that were tender.
Yeah, I'm going to just zip back to our conversation on temperature emergency backup for greenhouses. Yep. And remember what I used to use was the propane burners. Right. So I had a propane tank with a burner on the top of it, and they would be like 12,000 BTUs. And that thing, you just click, and it would fire up and create that heat. It would heat a whole room, no problem. And you could just sit that into a greenhouse. And I had 2 of them in a full-size 100-foot-long greenhouse, and I could break the frost.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, and I've got those. That's a great idea, Ken.
That's your third level of emergency backup. Because you got power, and you got gas, and you got all that stuff. But if all that stuff fails, just a propane tank with a burner on it. You just walk in there and
that doesn't give you off any carbon dioxide?
Oh, there's carbon monoxide, especially in a small greenhouse like yours. But, hey, what would you rather do?
A little carbon monoxide never hurt anybody?
Not for a couple hours. You betcha. No, you're not going to be sitting in there watching it burn, I don't think.
We're going to have phone calls now.
Yeah, having a little bit of ventilation is all you need, which I think you have a little air intake.
Oh, yeah. There. No, I'd be fine. 250-862-2525 to get through to us. If you're local here in the Okanagan and Kelowna area. 1-888-780-4273 if you're phoning in from outside the listening area in the Kelowna area. And that is a toll-free number to get through. Now, we are going again to the Seattle Flower Show. And I highly recommend it. Ken and I have been there several times together, and we've been, I think this is maybe the 17th year that we've actually gone. We had a couple of years off during COVID, but it changes every year. It gets better every year, and people that have been on the trip before don't hesitate to hop on the bus again because every year is different. Got a great hotel we're staying in this year that we stayed in last year. We've really walking distance, 20 minutes walking to the event, and so that's February 20th to the 23rd. 20th, 21st, 22nd, or 21st, 22nd, 23rd. 4 days we're away, 2 days of travel, and 2 days at the show. And it's pretty reasonable. $7.99 per person includes the 3 nights at the hotel. It includes the the breakfast, every day there's a breakfast. Includes a trip to Brian Minter's on the way back, the Minter Country Gardens, and he gives us a nice talk there. And there's a lunch that is included in the pricing there. So it's a great deal, and boy, oh boy, it's a world-renowned show, second only to the Chelsea show. I mean, the Chelsea show is like Seattle on steroids, but to go to the Chelsea show, you're talking a lot of money. And so here, for $800, you can spend 2 days at the show and have all that other much fun. And we make it fun for you too on the bus. We try and make it fun. I make a prize for everybody. I do the I make boxes and hooks and things in my woodworking shop, so everybody gets a prize, and other people donate prizes as well. And it's a lot of fun. We have a good time. And when Ken and I were on it, we have the garden show right there. On the way back, live garden show.
It's always live
with just the people on the bus, and we answer gardening questions and have some fun doing it. And there you have it. So we have Joe on the line. Good morning, Joe.
Good morning, and thank you for your show. I always appreciate it so much.
Great.
My question is, what is the best way to store cannas and calla lilies?
Well, pretty easy on those.
Yeah, there's I think there's two common ways, and one that I find is the easiest for me is that, let's see, what's the best way to do this? But there's smaller size ones that are like I have a bunch of different cannas and some callas as well, and I have them all in pots of different varying sizes, and I'm kind of purposefully growing some in smaller pots, so that when the fall comes, I just sort of let those pots dry out. Like right now, I'm drying them out, and I'm drying them out in the pots because I'm going to cut the top off and move the entire pot into my storage area. So I don't have to take them out. I don't have to wash the roots. I don't have to wrap them or put them into cardboard boxes. I just literally keep the pots. They're already surrounded by peat moss or, say, potting soil, so they're kind of in this perfect environment as long as they're not wet. That's sort of the key. So I have to allow them to dry themselves out right now, start drying them, and then, like I said, I just move the whole thing in. So to me, that's the easiest way to do it. The problem I have is I also have these humongous ones that are in great big pots, and I don't want to bring those big pots in. So those guys, if I want to save them, like I say, if I can get the varieties I want in smaller pots, then those are the ones I'll put in my big pots next year. And then I'll start a few new ones in smaller pots again the following year. And this is my cycle. But I would say the other option then would be to take the roots out of these big pots and divide them up. Maybe, Don, you can describe that.
It's pretty simple. They're very resilient. So with cannas and callas, both. I've done both of mine now. I haven't dug the callas yet. But I have dug a couple of other things like my amaryllis and that. I've dried it out and whatnot. But the cannas, they're the rhizomes, and you just wash them off, dry them out, throw them in a paper bag, and put them in a cool, dry, non-frosty spot in the house somewhere in the basement or whatever. And then just plant them up in April next year, and they'll start growing, and everything's fine. Easy to do. They're a lot easier to bring through, I think, than dahlias, although the dahlias are not too bad too. And I'm pretty rough and dirty with my dahlias. I don't do anything real special with them. I just kind of throw them in a bucket and put them in the workshop. I keep mine in the workshop, but because the workshop stays cool at night. So so they're pretty simple, straightforward.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome, Joe.
Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye-bye now.
It's really just keeping those out of the freezing areas.
Yeah, you just don't want them to freeze.
Yeah, keep them just above freezing. Anywhere in that range below 10 degrees is ideal. Mine, sometimes I'm storing them between 10 and 20 degrees Celsius, and as long as I keep them bone dry, I think they're okay.
Yeah, they don't want to grow. We're going to take a short break here. We've got a couple of people waiting online, and we will come back to those calls when we're back after this short break. Well, we're back with you on a beautiful Saturday morning, and we're going to talk to Bill. Good morning, Bill.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I love your show.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Anyhow, I have an issue with my tomatoes. Normally, they ripen beautifully and early enough. Right now, they're extremely slow to ripen. Mm-hmm. And is there some way that I can speed that up before it snows?
Turn up the night temperature.
Yeah, crank the thermostat.
Crank the thermostat up at night. Where are you located, Bill?
In Quill Ridge.
Yeah, so you're in the Okanagan, and the nights are getting very cool here. Is there any way that you can put somehow just put a little clear plastic tent around your tomato plants?
Exactly. Yeah, they're all staked, and I have a dozen plants, so I could curtain a whole bunch of them with.
That's going to help. It's going to keep the night temperature a little bit better, and the daytime temperature is going to be the greenhouse effect, and it's going to heat them up a little bit more. That's going to be helpful. But I'll tell you what, Donna and I pick our tomatoes at the end of the year. A lot of them are just absolute green tomatoes, and we don't throw any of them out. We lay them out, not almost touching each other on a piece of paper, cardboard or newspaper in the kitchen, just regular room temperature, and you'd be surprised at how these babies ripen up.
No, I have done that each year when I pull the plants up. I put them in a cardboard box in the garage, layer it with newspaper, and we have tomatoes up till Christmas. So I'm just in a hurry for them to ripen so we can can them. Right.
Okay, I got you covered there. The other thing is, of course, picking varieties that are early.
Well, they're early girl and super fantastic.
Is that right? Eh?
Yeah.
Well, super fantastic's a little later, but
it's hit and miss. It's all temperature, if you get a year, even though I'm sure this year in some level we did maybe break a couple records as far as heat goes, but not consistently through the season. Things were late to get in, and when we did get them in, we had sort of hit and miss weather. So anyway, temperature is the thing that rules everything. And so as Don's saying, definitely, if you can put a little greenhouse over that thing of some kind, whether it's prefabricated or something you just make up yourself with some clear poly, that greenhouse effect will boost that temperature up. And then how you maintain the heat overnight is two ways. One, just by doing that, the earth warms up, gets really warm from that, and it'll sustain through the evening and through the night. The other thing you can do is you can put in water, some sort of buckets of water or jugs of water or a barrel of water or something in there. And then through the daytime, that barrel will gather heat and it'll get really toasty warm, the water.
Oh, really?
And then it'll hold and it'll release that temperature overnight. So that's a greenhouse technique that I still use that right now for greenhouses. I'll get 2 or 3 barrels, fill them with water, and put them into my little greenhouse. And these are full-size barrels. So they keep that temperature, really bang on.
3 to 5 degrees.
Oh, yeah. So these techniques are things for people who don't have power or whatever, and you don't have to use electric heat or any kind of gas.
That might help you get going for your canning, Bill.
Yeah, well, actually, tomatoes are cheap enough. I don't want to hook up a heater in the garden.
No, exactly. That's why just a barrel of water. If you could get a small barrel or a half-size 45-gallon drum or something, fill that. I painted mine black, and then I filled it with water, put the lid on so it wouldn't evaporate, and then good to go, man. Those things just heat right up.
Yeah, and you know what? If all else fails, farmer's market.
I know.
A friend of mine brought some to a party. A friend of mine brought some smoked trout or smoked salmon to the party, and I said, "Oh man!" I said, "Did you catch those?" He says, "Oh yeah." I said, "Where'd you catch them?" And he says, "Safeway Ocean."
Yeah, I caught mine at Nestor's this year.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, buddy, we're going to have to go. We got another caller coming in.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Bill.
Yeah, thanks for calling.
Right on.
Bye-bye.
And we've got our buddy Dan Bruce joining us. Dan, that was a great visit we had the other day, and your knowledge spewed all over the garden. It was really kind of fun.
Well, I hope you think so.
Well, especially when you looked at that chunk of wood that my friend Wilf gave me, and right away you just said Torado worm, and I went Tornado worm. Okay, so I look it up, and it's not a worm really, and you know this. It's a mollusk. It's a type of mollusk, and it goes after wood that's submerged in salty water, and very, very, very interesting piece of wood. I'm hoping I've set it all up now. I'm hoping that it'll attract the mason bees.
Well, it might do.
Yeah,
you never know.
Yep, you bet. What have you got up your sleeve today, Dan?
Well, I was over at Fintry doing a little bit of curatorial work and came across this quite cool book. It's Public School Agriculture by H.J. Hutchison. Toronto, the Educational Book Company Limited, 1928.
Neat.
A couple of things about it that's cool. The frontispiece, the photo in the opposite the title page, shows a part of the EP Ranch in the foothill country near High River, Alberta. And of course, it was the EP Ranch that the almost King Edward VIII bought.
Right.
He was visiting Canada as Prince of Wales, went to spend some time at the Bar-U Ranch, liked it so much that he decided to buy the adjoining smaller property. So it was called the EP Ranch, and its brand was EP Edward Principes.
Oh. That's interesting.
Anyway, this book has a name written in the just inside Hazel Caskey, Benalto, Alberta. The history of the book is unknown, but Benalto is where a lot of Finnish people settled. And in the pages of the book, there was this little, about 2-inch square newspaper cutting, written in a language that did not immediately come to the top of my head. Mm-hmm. But I looked it up, and I realized that it was, in fact, Finnish. And I tried to read this. Utter failure.
Mm-hmm.
Won't speak a word of it. But I do happen to know a fellow who lives in Finland, and I emailed this to him, and I said, Jussi, please explain what this is. It seems like a sort of a rhyme or a poem of some sort. And he answered and said, well, yes and no. It doesn't translate very well because it's actually a tongue twister.
Okay.
So I have this strange thing, a tongue twister in Finnish.
Yeah, that's hard to translate that into English, isn't it?
Well, I mean, a lot of tongue twisters in English don't translate very well.
No.
But my Finnish pronunciation, it must be a huge joke to anybody who is Finnish. But a couple of lines here seem to read, tukat lukat, onen kukat, nipu napu tipu tapu. So if there's any Finnish listeners out there, I challenge them to tell me what that might mean.
Well, that ain't me. That ain't me.
No.
I have difficulty even with French, but I try. Dan, there was something else in that book that you mentioned to me the other day that was fascinating. And it was all about who should be reading this book.
Well, there in the preface it says this book, of course, contains a lot of information on all aspects of farming, soil conservation, irrigation, dairy farming, tree farming, you name it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's all been put together to provide information that might appeal to the interests of boys and girls who live in the urban communities and do not enjoy the advantage of first-hand experiences with agricultural life and conditions.
Perfect.
So that just gives you the sort of mindset of the people who wrote and published the book, is that those involved in agriculture are advantaged.
You bet, and they are. Hey, Dan, we're going to have to run. We're at the quarter hour here, so we're going to have to see you again next week, and drop by again and give me some more information on these plants, my new babies.
Yes, I might do some other things to your new babies too.
Oh no, you got to. I told those when you came in. I said, frisk that guy when he leaves. Okay, buddy, take care.
Nobody did.
No, I know we didn't do it.
All right.
Okay, take care.
Thanks, Dan. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
We're going to take a break now. We're at the quarter hour, and we invite your calls when we come back with The Garden Show after this short break. Okie dokie, we're back with you on a beautiful Saturday morning. It's a little on the cool side, but I still have my shorts on, Ken. I got my shorts on.
Yeah. It was 8 degrees driving in this morning. That's not bad. When I got up, it was 3 degrees. That was a little bit, I was getting like, that's a bit chilly for my lovely tropicals that are outside. They really don't like to go below about maybe 8 degrees as a minimum. But sometimes they have no choice.
That's right. Now, we've got Addie going to join us here. We got John Tanner's going to call in right after the break. John Tanner's in town. He's an old Kelowna boy, and he's here for Pam Burge's celebration of life that's happening this afternoon. And, we'll talk to John after the break. But right now, we've got Addie. Good morning, Addie.
Good morning, guys. How are you?
We're well.
Good,
we're
thanks.
well.
Yeah,
good.
thanks.
Okay, so the magic season is upon us. So plant back in the house.
Yep.
My fig tree or my fig plant, I just got it this year, and my avocado. How long can I leave them outside for?
The fig a lot longer than the avocado.
Yeah, that's right.
We can say that for sure. So the fig is less of like I've even had people leave the fig out until it loses its leaves because they are deciduous. And, you can leave them out for at least a few more weeks. If they got a little touch of frost, it wouldn't be the end of the world for them. It might stimulate them to drop their leaves, and then you can put them into storage. But not so much for the avocado. Avocado is pretty much a straight-up tropical, so it doesn't really like to freeze at all. So I would be saying bring in your avocado ASAP and follow it up with the fig a little bit later. And that's an edible fig, right? Is that what you're talking about?
Yes, it is, yeah.
Yeah.
So the avocado is treated as a house plant?
Yeah. Yep, you bet.
And the fig tree?
It can stay out till the leaves turn yellow and drop off and then bring it in.
And treated as a house plant also?
It depends on the variety. I mean, the one I have is called Chicago, and I keep it out all winter, but I do put a protection around it. And last year with that January, I lost it to the ground again. So, figs in the Okanagan. Now, we're talking the Okanagan. The folks that are listening in Victoria, different story. You can keep your figs out all winter.
Yeah, and so, but you might want to put it in the garage, let's say, instead of in the house.
Yeah.
But you can bring it in early. Like if I had it out in my garage, where it was, just above freezing or right around freezing all winter, and then as I got into, say, end of February, I might want to bring it into the house and get it started, so it starts to grow to get an early start, and then kick it outside, after about the middle of May or so.
And Addie, if it's portable, if it's kind of like easy to move it back and forth, just watch the weather like a hawk. And I mean, if it gets down below, the evenings are getting down below -3 to 5, then bring it in for a bit. But if you can bring it back in and out, and just remember you have it, because it does enjoy being dormant and cool. That's what it would rather have, is just being a steady, cool outside. But it can't stand anything more than 5. Well, it depends on the variety, but anything more than 5 or 6, -5 or 6.
Okay, you're talking Celsius, right?
Celsius, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So then, when I don't have a garage, but I have a shed that it doesn't really freeze in the winter, and when it goes down to, let's say, below minus 15, I've got a little heater that I put in there.
That would work.
Would that be good enough?
That would work. Yep, you bet.
Super. Okay.
Got to keep an eye on it, though.
Guys, enjoy the weekend.
Okay, you too, Addie. Thanks for the call.
Thanks, Addie.
Appreciate it. Okay.
Bye-bye.
And we have Vicky joining us. Good morning, Vicky.
Good morning. I have a question about sunflowers. I planted sunflowers last year, and I had sunflowers everywhere. And I picked 2 heads that were what I'd call my favorites. They were huge pie pan size heads. And I picked the seeds out of them. And this year, I soak them before I plant them to soften them up a bit. I got nothing. So should those have been put in the refrigerator to give them a chill?
Yes, that would be helpful. And actually, what happens, like with sunflowers, they don't always come true, or let's say rarely do they come true from seed. So like if I had a giant sunflower and then the next year I saved those seeds and I was able to get them to grow, they come up all different sizes, little tiny ones and great big ones. It's
really?
variable from seed. So I'm not 100% aware whether there is or isn't varieties that do come true to seed, but from seed. But I would say I don't rely on that. When you buy a package of seeds and it says on the label what it is, those are often hybridized or managed some way in their production so that you've got really high percentage chance of getting that type of a sunflower.
Right.
Now, the ones like I planted them, I don't know how many years ago, 20 years ago. And every year the birds just scatter them all over the yards, and I see the little sunflowers. They all come up in the spring. I don't do anything out of the ordinary. So in other words, they just fall on the ground and they go between a little piece of mulch or something, and then they shoot up. And I see them in the spring. It's usually about around the end of May. They just start sprouting everywhere, and they're just these little sunflower babies. And I just go and I weed out all the ones I don't want, and I just leave the ones I do want. So I just leave a few here and a few there, and I just let them roll. And they grow up to be these beautiful, all different sizes. Some are big blooms, some are small, but the birds just love them.
And getting back to the storage side of things, your best bet is to take that head and just leave it outside over the winter with covered so the birds don't get at it if you want the birds to stay away, and leave it outside and store it outside. And those seeds should be much more viable than storing them indoors because they do need that cooling period.
Even when it gets like minus 20?
Yes. Here's
They'll
the
be okay left outside?
Oh, yeah. Here's the deal. We had a heck of a cold spell in January last year, right?
Yes, it killed all my lavender.
I know, yeah. And now, here's the deal. With the sunflowers, I grew some sunflowers in the greenhouse, starting the seed in April, and they were nice big plants by the time May came where I could put them outside in May 24th. And I planted one out. It was 2 feet tall when I put it out in the garden. And a little one from last year was growing it just started to sprout in May. It was about an inch tall. By the time the end of the season came, that one that was growing naturally, that overwintered, a volunteer, was twice the size of the one that I planted at 2 feet. So, I'm not going to be wasting my time and energy and space in my greenhouse this year. I'm just going to plant seed right outside in the garden, In
the fall or in the spring?
You can plant them and put them out there in the fall. That's what the birds did.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay, because I do notice that my ones that I was so careful with over the winter didn't sprout, but the ones that fall out of the bird seed feeder, they sprout.
Yeah, exactly. And they got stratified, which is the process of freezing and thawing and whatnot.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so in that area that I want sunflowers, I should put them in now.
Sure. Yeah. You can do that as long as the birds don't get at them.
Yeah, and leave them a little while yet. But that's the one thing is a lot of mine right now are getting stripped by birds. But I also realize the birds are scattering them everywhere too. Yep. They're very messy eaters, so I know for sure that I will have a good population for next year.
I have a big one that I strap to one of the poles for the feeders.
Oh, yeah.
And I do see that the birds have picked away a little bit at some of it, but I will pull those seeds off and put them in the ground.
Vicki, we're going to have to take a break here, and I appreciate your call.
Yeah.
Thank you, dear.
Thanks for calling.
And we'll be back with the Garden Show after this short break. Well, I don't know how many visits from John Tanner we can imagine or stand every year. John and Fran, his wife Fran, were here earlier in the summer, which we always enjoy. And here he's back again in town because we're here for Pam Burge's celebration of life. Good morning, John. How you doing?
Good morning, Don, and hi, Ken.
Hey, John. How's it going?
It's going well here. Just had breakfast at the Burnett Lodge, and
nice.
We're ready for action today.
Yeah, for sure. You know, John, just so folks realize who we're talking to here, John Tanner grew up in Kelowna. His dad was Lance Tanner, the postman who did all the first original scuba diver in Kelowna and did all that work with the RCMP and whatnot. And he delivered mail for everybody. And John Tanner, of course, grew up here and working at CKOV, the AM station CKOV back in the day. And that's the station that the Garden Show started on as well. And so, hey, John, it's great to have you with us.
Well, it's good to be here again, Don. I love the autumn, and the colors are just changing now, and it's just beautiful out there. And the spirit of Pamela Burge lingers amongst all the beauty, and we're going to celebrate her life today, which was a long and eventful one for sure.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it, and I'm glad we're doing that for Pam. She had a long life. She was just short of 80 when she's passed here this past year. She struggled for the last few years with her health,
right.
But you know, I worked with Pam when she was Timothy M. Burge back at CKOV, and of course you worked with Timothy M. Burge for many years down at the coast.
That CKLG at 1966, 67 through the CKVN, even out at CFMI, part of NW there in the early 80s. And we've had many adventures, seen many a concert, and, well, we've just enjoyed life to the fullest. Mm-hmm. Pam, maybe a little too much. She really loved life, but it was a full, fruitful life, and she actually worked in broadcasting over in the UK for a number of years, too. So she's a bit of a world traveler there.
Yeah. Fascinating person to talk to, as are you. And we enjoy our visits with you, John, and talking, reminiscing a little bit about Kelowna history and Kelowna's the way it was back in the day. You moved away probably, in the mid-'60s or early 60s? You moved away?
I moved from Kelowna, being on CKOV late 59 to 64, and that's when I headed down to CFON in September of 64, hired by Red Robinson. And we've seen heard a lot of music, played a lot of music over the years, and it's been a great life. I love Kelowna. We got lost last night up on Dilworth Mountain, trying to find someone's place up there. We managed to find it, but I can't believe Knox Mountain and Dilworth were just places where you went for hikes, and now you go up there, you get lost in all the little cul-de-sacs.
Yeah, no, it's well developed. Yeah.
Oh, it sure is. Yeah.
Last night it was so cool because you and I, when it got dark, we started looking skyward because that's another aspect of John Tanner that is fascinating. You and Craig McCaw are both astrophysicists. Well, maybe not quite astrophysicists, but close.
Amateur astronomers, for sure.
Amateur astronomers. But we looked up and we saw, what would you call that, the evening triangle?
Summer triangle.
The summer triangle.
Yes, it's right overhead at night, and you can't miss it because there's a very bright star Vega, there's Altair, the crux, the point of the triangle in the south, and Deneb overhead too. And I was about to point out to you, I've got my laser pointer here, Don. So when we're out looking for Saturn tonight, which is quite clear low in the southeast, we'll take a look around the sky above, because the Northern Cross is also part of the summer triangle. But we'll point that out to you tonight. I'm looking for clear skies, and I don't know about Aurora. We're waiting for another CME to reach the Earth. There's also a comet in the sky that's going to be here another week or two in Kelowna. We're hoping the weather will be clear for that too.
John, you spent a lot of time at the planetarium in Vancouver. How many years did you do that?
47 years, actually.
47 years at the planetarium.
Yeah, we taught thousands of school kids and adults doing public shows with Harold the Star Projector, and I worked with Craig McCaw for 35 years doing laser shows, Pink Floyd, Zeppelin, you name it, over the years there. Craig still does that at the BCIT planetarium, actually.
Yeah, Joe, my son Joe and I went and watched that show. Does a great job, and Greg's a wonderful man, and hey, member of the Poppy family, which is pretty darn cool. I'd like to chat with Craig with his adventures with the Poppy family back in the day.
For sure.
And John, I mentioned your dad earlier on, Lance. He was a character. Whenever we've talked about you, like on Facebook, and I put posting, everybody comes up. Oh, I remember Lance Tanner. Nobody remembers John Tanner. It's always about Lance Tanner.
Well, like he cleaned, I don't know, hundreds of water intakes out along the lake. We were diving for props off boats and boats that sank, and even cars that drove off the bridge when the lift span was up.
Right. Yes.
There was some more gruesome things that went on there,
Yeah.
I remember Dad finding a body just standing on the bottom of the lake off the yacht club there one day as he was swimming along. Quite accidentally, actually.
The body was
someone,
standing?
I guess, that had drowned, But, many diving jobs. He was flown around the province because there were no one else diving, He read The Silent World by Jacques Cousteau, and we got to get aqualungs. We got to learn how to skin and scuba dive, all that.
Well, he should be looking for that prop that dropped off the ferry, try and get the Queen of New Westminster back on track here.
Yeah. Well, we could use a ferry or two when the lineups get long in the summer, right?
Well, the fact that Queen of New Westminster is probably for the next few months is in dock, and that's a big ferry. I didn't realize they were built back. Those big ferries, the Queens, were built in the mid '60s. I didn't realize that.
Really?
So when we were using the ferries when we were traveling with the band back then, they were pretty much new, but they were still running today. So they've got a whole lineup, lots of money tied up, and they're going to redo the fleet. And which is kind of exciting. And so these folks in Victoria that need the ferries can go back and forth a little bit easier and more.
Speaking of building, they got to rebuild that Kelowna Aquatic and get the regatta going again. But I guess that's a pipe dream.
Well, John, I tried. I really did. About 10 or 12 years ago, we had a committee formed with some of the. Actually, we even had some of the old timers that were involved with the regatta and involved with the aquatic. And we really tried, but one of the big issues, of course, if you have a big venue in the park, is parking. That's the problem. And where are the people going to park? Back in the day, when we had the regatta, all those properties along south of Harvey, south of Highway 97, were open, big vacant lots, and that's where the parking. They you remember they'd have the people in there guiding traffic and whatnot onto those big pieces of property, but they don't have that anymore. It's all built up. So,
what can you do? It's progress, right?
Yeah, it's change.
Running out of room.
Yeah, change. But John, it's always great to have you in town here, and we do invite the calls. We got John on, but if you want to, in fact, there's a lot of folks that may want to. Just have a chat with John, because John was on the air for many years in Vancouver and did his shows, and I just remember hearing how successful you were down there, and some of the CKLG and all these great radio stations that we would really. The interesting thing is, you guys would put out, like when the Beatles came out with Sgt. Pepper's. We were down in Vancouver seeing some kind of a show. I forget who we were down. Maybe it was Cream or somebody. So we were down there, and Beatles' Sgt. Pepper's came out, and we're driving down Granville Street, and on the radio, this wonderful album comes out. It didn't come out in Kelowna until 2 weeks later.
Oh,
weird.
Well, we got a tape, you see, from Seattle, so we were playing the songs earlier. That was back in '58, I believe, right?
Now everything's instantaneous. We're going to have to take a short. Right. We're going to have to take a short break here, John. Stay on the line, but we do invite calls 250-862-2525 or 1-888-780-4273 if you're calling from anywhere out of town here, and we'll be back with the Garden Show after this short break. Well, talking about the history of Kelowna and whatnot, we got John Tanner on, who's part of Kelowna history and Vancouver history, of course, too. Great to have you with us, John.
Yeah, great. And speaking of history, I was just thinking when I first started listening to the radio, like 1949, 50, early days, Grandpappy Jackson and Foxy, his dog, friend Frida Woodhouse, a great kids show, Bob Hall, Walter Gray, Roberts Records. Oh, man. There was some great stuff on the radio back in those days on the OVE radios.
And you can't forget about Scotty Angus's.
Oh, the heck. Scotty Angus, yes. Echoes of the Highlands.
Echoes of the Highlands, for sure.
Let the wind blow high, let the wind blow low. Through the streets in the kilts I go.
Yeah.
Scotty, yes.
Donald, where's your trousers? Look, we've got to go back to the phone lines here. John, stay on the line with us because you are our special guest today. We've got Kat. Is it Kat? Or Pat? We've got Pat. Hey, Pat.
Hi. I'm calling from Victoria.
Yes.
And I have a question about my Japanese maple. It's about maybe 8 or 9 feet tall, a red one with the fine foliage. And it's been in about 6 years. It's done really well, but this year, after it leafed out, I noticed I had like 3 branches that were dead. So I cut them off. And now I've noticed, and it was fine most of the summer, and then about October, in August, now I have another 3 branches where their leaves are all shriveling up. And it looks like they're on their way out.
Ken and I are both groaning.
Yeah. The symptoms sound like a disease of maples, and it's a disease that's quite common here in the Okanagan as well, but it's called verticillium wilt. And the symptoms are that the plant will be sometimes leafing out in the springtime and looking relatively normal. And then as the temperatures sort of increase as you go into summer, then branches here and there start to die off. And the leaves go crispy on the stems sometimes, or they'll wilt.
That's what they look like. I mean, it's got a sprinkler system. It gets watered well.
Yeah, no, it's not a water issue in this case. And that would have been, one of the things with these lace leaf maples is that they're not drought tolerant, so they do need some water. But yours in this case that's not the case. But even in that case, if it was water, it would affect the entire plant generally and not just a branch or two. So this symptom is very specific to this verticillium wilt. Is a fungus. It comes out of the earth. It comes from the soil. It gets up into the roots of the plant, travels up the stems, it lodges in the crotches of the stems, and then grows and plugs those off. It's like clogging of the arteries, you could say.
See. That's kind of what it looks like, all right, because below it, they've got a few good leaves, and then there's a spot where it just after that, they're all gone.
And the roots are fine. It's not a root disease. It's a stem disease. So now it comes through the roots, but it really damages those stems. So just a suggestion is that if you can go out and take one of the stems that's a decent size, like something maybe 1 inch in diameter or so, and fairly close to where it attaches, one of the dead ones, and if you could saw it off or if you could cut it off with a pair of loppers or something, the wood would be very, very hard and very, very brittle. But if you can snap
it was hard getting them cut down.
Yeah, so when you cut that off, you look at the butt end of that cut, and you're looking for these eccentric rings inside the stem, and they're often this olive green color, like just a slightly greenish tone to them. And if you have that, that's sort of one of the key main identifiable things. And so, if we do,
I'm just standing by here.
Yeah, there we go. If we do see that, then we're positively identifying that it's verticillium. The reason this is important is because the tree I can give you a couple tips on how to potentially bring it back, hopefully. But if it doesn't come back and it completely dies, you can't replant there with any plant that might be susceptible to that disease. So that can be, there's a whole list of plants that are susceptible to this fungus. So this is why we want to identify it. So let's say that's the next step is if you do have another dead branch, you want to go out, cut that branch off and look at the butt end of the branch where you cut it and look for olive green discoloration, even a small amount, or rings in the wood, that are brown or discolored. Now, if you have that, there's not a lot you can do, but there's several different strains of this disease, and one of them is it's not 100% going to cause a death of the plant, and the plant can sometimes come back. And so there's like a mild form and then an extreme form. The extreme form, you can't do anything about it. It's going to die, and it dies quickly. Within one season, it's gone. The other disease is more slow-acting, and it takes a little bit longer. It takes a couple of years, and even then, often the plant will come back. But we use aspirins, which is kind of funny. They found that aspirins are the only thing that so far that has shown any kind of effect to help the plant, and that's because aspirins come from willow trees to begin with. That's where the salicylic acid comes from. And that is one of the things that's known to be the best resistant thing for this fungus. So that would be my suggestion is either way is get some aspirins and either sprinkle them around underneath the plant and around the plant.
Okay.
And that's step one, and you could do that right now. And then cut the stems just to check and see, because aspirin is not going to cause any issues, but it will dissolve and be absorbed by the plant, and it'll help to reduce the spread.
And Pat, if you want to have that on a sheet, you can send for my sheet on verticillium, and it tells you all about how application rates and things like that.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you very much. I hate to lose it. But
I know. I've been working on my maple up front, and I think I got it saved, but we'll see. Okay.
Okay. Well, thank you very much.
Take care, dear. Okay.
Right.
Thanks for calling.
Okay,
bye-bye. I believe we have Chuck on the line. Good morning, Chuck.
Good morning.
Good morning.
That was a very interesting discussion on that tree. Wow.
Yeah, the maples.
And to treat it with aspirin is just like treating clogged arteries. Anyhow,
exactly.
It is, isn't it?
Very interesting. Anyhow, my question is about lavender.
Mm-hmm.
Like, when do you prune it? And how do you prune it? And is it one of those plants that just grows and grows, and you got to divide it all the time to keep it from going?
Where are you located, Chuck?
Over your garden?
Where are you located, Chuck?
In Cologne here.
In Cologne,
yeah.
And your lavender came through?
I'm sorry?
I say your lavender lived over the winter?
Last year.
Oh, well, that's good.
Yeah, some of them did die over winter. A lot of them did because of the cold. But what the program is for lavender is always the same. And I talk about this all the time. Is that in the fall, you could, as long as the plant, it's all about cosmetics. You want it to look decent, right? So generally in the summertime, they'll finish off their blooming, and depending on the variety, sometime around the beginning of September, most of them are done by then, and some a little earlier. And once they're done, you just use a little hedge trimmer and you trim off the dead blooms. And that's just more or less
at the top of the plant.
Yeah, just at the top of the plant, and it's just to keep it looking like a dome shape.
Yeah.
And then you let them go until you get into the fall. Now we get into say October, And then we would take a hedge trimmer and we would, again, trim it into this dome shape. And this is the plan is to make it look like a very unique or very uniform looking dome shape so it looks attractive over winter because they are evergreen and they'll be there through the winter. So you trim it into this beautiful dome shape. You might, if it's misshapen, you might make it more rounded just so it has some appeal over the winter. Mm-hmm. And then you let them go through the winter and let them do their thing. And some of them they get dead pieces in the winter. There's no dividing of a lavender. They're just like one thing all from one stem. So it's like a little shrub more than anything.
Yeah.
And then in the springtime, you go out and you use a pair of loppers and you look inside the plant, especially if they've been there for quite a few years. And you go in with your loppers, which is like, long-handled pruners.
Yep.
And you just go in and you snip out all the big, thick stems, like right from the center of the plant pretty much, and you remove these big heavy-duty stems that go out in different directions. So you're just leaving all the small stuff. So you get rid of those big stems, and then you go in with your pruners again, or sometimes a hedge trimmer, depending how big they are, and you trim the thing into a small round shape of about maybe 14 inches in diameter by about maybe 10 inches high. And you just form, again, a mini dome this time, a little tiny thing. And that's going to set you up for a beautiful lavender for the next year. So, again, that's a spring timing. And the plant will just start to grow from the inside. The timing on that is usually in the month of March. About for us here in the Okanagan, around the 15th of March or so is a good timing, or end of March. And you trim them back really hard, and they come out with this beautiful shape again. They're nice and full. If we fail to do that, what happens is parts of it will sometimes die over winter, and then we end up with a real misshapen blob that doesn't do it for me. Like it'll be like half a lavender, half alive, half dead, or partially alive. So that's why you cut them really hard in the springtime, and they're just great.
Sounds wonderful.
Okay, buddy.
Appreciate the help.
All right.
Thank you for the call. We appreciate
Thanks, Chuck. Take care. Bye-bye.
You bet. We've got a couple of minutes here. Renee is up next. Good morning, Renee.
Good morning, gentlemen. I have two questions if you have time. Mm-hmm. One is about a tree. I've got about a 3-year-old tree, and I cannot tell you what kind it is. It's got some little red berries on it. But this summer, I've got about 6, 7, 8, 9 shoots that are just going crazy. I've never seen a tree grow like that. Do I leave those shoots? They're extending to the sky, and my tree looks a bit
you
silly.
could trim them off. It sounds like a mountain ash with the red berries. Yeah. You can trim those shoots that are going crazy there. You can trim them off at any time. That's not a problem. An old radio host, Bernard Moore, once said at one of our conferences, a lady said, "When do you prune? When do you prune, Mr. Moore?" And he says, "When you have these in your hands." And he pulled his Falco pruners out. And that's not
timing wise, yeah.
But he said that's when you prune. But with the trees, you can do that at any time. The big time for pruning mainly is in the spring, early spring, before the leaves come out, because you can see the shape of the tree and you can work that way. But it's not going to hurt it to take those branches off.
Okay.
Okay.
I just didn't know if I was getting rid of leader shoots or whatever.
Well,
but
you want to look at that. That's maybe why you should leave it till spring, so you can see a little bit more what's going on.
Yeah, because one of the rules with ornamental trees is to try to maintain somewhat of a central leader going straight up in the middle, because the tree's going to get bigger. That's the way they go. But they're going to be, maybe if you do have one of those shoots that's going straight up and it's an extension of that main stem, you might want to leave that one or maybe reduce it a little bit. But those other ones that are coming off of branches or shooting from the base of the tree, like those can come off. Just keep in mind, if it's a young tree, you want to leave them possibly because you need those extra leaves to keep the thing going and do it, maybe leave it for one more year. But if it's an older tree, they can come off pretty much any time. We often say that in the summertime, if you snip off these water sprouts that shoot up, you snip them off in around the beginning of August, end of July timing, that you don't get a lot of response, like they don't sucker back as easily. But that's
summer pruning has a controlling effect on your tree.
Okay. Okay, that's
Thanks,
good.
Renee.
My second one.
Oh, hang on. We're going to have to take a break here.
Okay.
You hang on. We'll get back.
Yeah, stay
and
on the line.
John Tanner, stay on the line because we will talk to you again. You'll probably learn something here if you just stay on the line. We're going to take a short break. We'll be back after this short break. We are back with you, and we have Renee still on the line. Renee, you got a question or two more. We got to make it quick though, because we've got a few other callers.
Korean dwarf lilac. Do I have lilac root rot? Do I have weevils? I've heard different things. Leaves are all brown. Somebody says that you can't do anything until this time of year. Any suggestions for me?
Well, if the leaves are brown, that doesn't really indicate weevils necessary, unless they're really getting at the root. Nor what the indication for weevils is the little bite marks on the edges of the leaves. Do you have that?
Yes, I do have that. Yes, I do.
You got that. Well, maybe they're attacking the root, eh, Ken?
Yeah, I would say, I just saw a lilac the other day that was in this failing state. And I did notice the notching on the leaves and some brown leaves. But looking to the base of the plant, I saw quite a bit of actually, like the base of the plant had been consumed. Like the hole where the trunk goes into the ground was showing sawdust coming out of it and all kinds of stuff. And that's a larva from these weevils doing that. And, I haven't seen that. I don't see that commonly, but every once in a while I'll see that effect. And so you want to just have a real close look, at the base of the plant there and see if you notice anything. There's a pretty good chance that even in those tough conditions that plant can come back. If it is a weevil issue, you have to get some of the weevil products. There's one called, it's called Grub Begone.
Okay.
And it's a type of BT, which is a bacterial. Yeah, there's Grub Out, Grub Begone, and another one that I can't think of right now. But anyway,
this time of year.
Yeah, well, see, what happens is through the summertime, that's when the adults are chewing and eating the leaves and whatnot. But they lay their eggs around the end of August timing typically. And then those eggs will hatch, and they're very, very tiny little grubs at first. And they will start to eat that and consume the roots and often the crown of the plant. And that'll happen right through the winter months. And by the time you hit spring, so let's zoom back to last spring, in the springtime, these things are getting to be a half an inch long, white grubs with a little brown head. And when you disturb them, they curl up into a little ball. And but they chomp and chew through the wood and through all the cambium layer of the base of the tree and into the roots. And so then what they do is then they hatch again and become these little beetles. Not hatch, but they metamorphosize into becoming these little beetles. And the little beetles go back to chewing and whatnot all summer. So because if yours is in that state, well, you've already had a year or maybe a couple years of this going on. So we're at the beginning of the point now where you can use these products. So you can get grub killers of some type, and most of them are organic based, so they are available, and you can pick them up at local garden centers and apply it now and then reapply it maybe in a week or two, and then do it again in the springtime when it warms up a bit. Where do you live again?
In Glenmore.
In Glenmore. So you're here. So what we need to do then is, we can do another one now, but we will need to do them in the springtime. So even though they've eaten all winter, there's not much we can do about it then. Well, you know what? That's why I say you should still apply it now. But in the springtime, I would reapply around the end of March, and that should be good timing.
Okay.
All right.
Good
Renee.
All righty.
Good. Thanks for your help.
Thank you, dear. Okay, appreciate the call.
Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye. And Maureen is on next. Good morning, Maureen.
Good morning, guys.
Good morning.
I was listening to what you were saying about the lavender, and I have a bunch of lavender here and there in different gardens. It's just to have a quick question. Is now the time to transplant it, or would I wait till spring?
Lavender is a little touchy transplanting in the fall. I'm more inclined to do it in the spring for two of the reasons. Is just because, plants are often more vigorous. It's a woody plant, more like a shrub rather than like a perennial. Perennials, I could do them now. That's fine. But the shrubby stuff like that, I would be waiting till spring. And then also you can look at them in the spring and maybe discern how well they came through the winter. And only transplant the ones that are happy and healthy and ready to go. So wait for them to push a little bit in the spring, and you see little tiny shoots, and you're good to go.
Yeah, if I have a couple that are in pots, I shouldn't have maybe put them in pots because now I'm afraid they're just going to die over the winter.
Yeah, you'll need to...
Can I quickly transplant those into a garden really fast before it gets cold?
You can, or you can bury it pot and all into the ground if you want to relocate them next year. Just bury the whole pot in the ground. They're very drought tolerant, so you don't have to worry about that.
Yeah.
Another thing you could do, too, is just put them in an unheated garage or shed. As they don't really need much light over winter. So if you waited...
Our garage, it goes to -21, though, like when it gets really, really cold.
In the garage?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, you'd want to protect them a little bit, but you never know. If the garage is attached to the house, it might be buffered quite a bit.
Okay. A quick question, because I know you have lots of people having questions, but my main question was about the beautiful geraniums that are looking just fantastic now. If I want to save those, it doesn't work for me to put them in a paper bag. I keep trying that, and it just never ever works. Would you put them in the garage? Would you snip them, make them small, and put them and pot them? What would you do?
There's two different thoughts on this. One is the dormanting of it because we don't want it as a house plant, or that they have to be dug out of the ground. Then they have to go into something. And often what I'll do is I'll just, when you have some used potting soil, which nowadays I think most people save potting soil, I put a little bit of just dry potting soil into a cardboard box, and then I would dig out all my geraniums out of the ground or pull them out of planters, keeping the roots intact a little bit, get this soil off the roots a little bit, and then remove all the leaves off the stems, and then just bury the roots into this dry potting soil in these cardboard box, and then just put that whole thing into the garage again, or into a basement or somewhere where it's storable.
Frost-free.
Frost-free area is ideal.
Frost-free, but not
cool.
warm.
Yeah, it has to be cool. But what I do is I grow little plants, and this is actually, Dawn's taught me this over the years, is that at this time of year you can take cuttings from your geraniums and grow a bunch of little plants, right? And grow little bits of all the different colors that you want. Grow them into like a little 4-inch pot and get them up, because you can root them. You can root them straight into a 4-inch pot. And then, grow it as a house plant and just put it on your shelf, and they're happy little campers, and they bloom in the house all winter. They're just a joy.
One way or another, I'm going to save these things.
You bet.
Would you put them into root hormone, rooting stuff?
It's always a good idea to use a little rooting hormone, yes.
Okay, all right. Well, thank you very much, guys.
Thank you, dear.
Have a great weekend.
Yeah, thanks for calling.
Okay.
Bye-bye. Yeah, there you go.
Now back to my friend John Tanner. Have you learned anything, John? John?
Oh. Good question.
Have you learned something?
I don't have as green a thumb as you do, Don. So
Well, you got a lovely yard there in Mount Pleasant in area in Vancouver. What a beautiful spot to live. You've been there for quite a while now. At one time, you were down in Kitsilano.
Oh, we've been all over the city, here and there, and even out in Burnaby Heights. But no, we're pretty well entrenched here in Mount Pleasant, 11th and Ontario area. Even though they do plan to put an 18-story apartment building a block away from us now with the new corridor on Broadway, and that's a bit scary. But what can you do?
I know.
Yeah.
Well,
anyway,
it is. I had a little bit of a tear going down my cheek this morning as I was coming to the radio station, driving by the hospital. There was this, and I forget the family who built this house, but it was a big old 1920s home that was on the parking lot there, adjacent to the parking lot that they just put in at the hospital. And all that was there was a bare spot and a big, huge excavator. And that was it, and it was gone. I didn't know what they were going to do with that house. A beautiful old home. But you know what? Sometimes we talk about the homes in England being saved, either 300, 400-year-old homes, people still living in them.
But they were made of stone.
Yeah, they were built. they were really built.
Built to last, yeah.
And the foundations here, anyway, it is what it is, and I hate to see it, but after a while, it's like, I've often said when people take out a tree because the tree was too close to the house or something like that, and they say, oh, we're going to miss that thing. I said, well, you might miss it for a few days, but after a while, it'll just be, oh, yeah,
gone.
It's gone. It wasn't there anymore. So, yeah. But we were in Vancouver this spring when the cherry blossoms were going, and in the Mount Pleasant area and in the Kitsilano area. I'm telling you, what a show, eh?
Oh, the blossoms, yeah. Our street has got them right in front of our house, actually. I've been out there watering them back in the summer there, keep them going. They're just gorgeous. Not the ones that start early. They get the leaves first, and then the blossoms come in these huge bunches, and they're just so wonderful.
Japanese
But, there's some things that we can't bring back, like the Kelowna Aquatic or the old post office, buildings like that, that we wish were still there, but progress moves on. And which means I have to move on here and do my shower and get ready to head out for our memorial. So,
you betcha. And I'll be heading home real quick, too, right after the show, because we got to go to Pam's memorial, give her a little send-off there, and that's what we're going to do. So, John, thank you for joining us today. We really appreciate it, and we will see you when we get to the memorial.
Yes, the celebration of life will be full of life, I'm sure. And thanks again, Don and Ken, for having me on your show. I know that people are saying, what are they talking about? We want to hear more about the garden. But nevertheless, we do our reminiscing, and we hope we aren't boring you too much.
No, people love that, and we appreciate you being on, John. Take care.
Thanks, Don.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Thanks, John.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
And on that note, we're going to take our last break of the day. We've got a few minutes left in the Garden Show, so give us a call if you have any gardening questions, and we will be back with the Garden Show after this short break. We are back with you with the Garden Show after a long, long period of time. 1983, we started this Garden Show. We will be celebrating on our next year, our 2000th show. It'll be about May 24th. I'm just guessing.
Somewhere around there.
Somewhere in that neck of the woods. So it's going to be a big celebration. 2000th show. As I say, it's right now we've done 1,967 shows. Mm-hmm. That's getting up there, eh?
It's starting, yeah.
And
the
interesting thing, Kent, it just seems like yesterday when we started.
Yeah, and I always think, it's funny. I've been reviewing a lot of the shows from the past, and it really is amazing the amount of information because, I'm always trying to think like I want to get a new plant of the week, but when I've done, thousands of them, plants of the week, there's going to be overlap. Like you're going to have the same ones from time to time. It's poignant sometimes that this is the time of year when you do this, or this is the time of year that this plant is special. But yeah, we never seem to have a difficult time coming up with something new, and we rarely come up, or I don't think we've ever really come up with the exact same plant. I don't know,
we haven't.
No, I don't think so.
Ken, I'll tell you, just this experience I had going through Dwayne's greenhouse and taking plants home. And then what I'm doing now is looking them up on the internet to get the names exactly correct and make new signs for them and their origin, their origin where they were indigenous to and whatnot. And of course, there's a lot of hybrids in that. A lot of aloe hybrids, out there.
I'm really impressed and surprised by that, actually.
Yeah. And a lot of agave hybrids too. But these genus that are like agave and aloe and the various other succulent genus, there are tons and tons and tons of species in those genus. Like I bet you there's 250 aloe species at least, and at least 250 euphorbia species at least, maybe more than that. Gasterias and whatnot. Hey. My plant of the week, the Aztekia ritteri, 2 species, and one, the ritteri, is the common one. There's one rare species of Aztekia. Aztekia. I got to remember that name. Look it up, folks. Aztekia. AZTEKIUM. Aztekium ritteri. Look it up.
Nice.
It's a fascinating plant. Okay, well, we've got a call coming in before we finish the show today, and that is Wendy. Hi, Wendy. How are you?
I am just great. I've been bringing in my tropicals, whatever, but my tropical hibiscus is just too big.
Oh, boy. Yep.
But it's still blooming. So I need to cut it back because it takes up my whole living room, sort of thing. Can I cut it back while it's still blooming, or do I have to wait till it sort of finishes off?
Oh, no. The only problem is you're going to lose the bloom, but it's not going to hurt the plant.
Yeah, it's been blooming like crazy all
Isn't that
summer.
nice? Well, you've enjoyed it. And as you say, I mean, I've got my jacaranda outside that I've got to prune right back to get into the greenhouse. There's other plants that I'm not only pruning back, I'm pruning them back and walking them to the green bin because they're just too big.
I don't want to do that.
Well, I'm pruning back a lot of my tropicals now that have got really oversized to store over the winter in the greenhouse. I'm making cuttings for them so that I'll start some young plants next year, and it's going to have a tear in my eye to see some of these go into the green bin, but some of them are going to have to. So.
Okay, so I can cut it back anytime.
You can do that.
The other thing is, I've had this Bromansia for, about 6 years now. And why does it doesn't bloom until, late in August, early September.
That's what mine do too. I've got 3 that are about 6 feet high, and they're very large, and they are in full bloom right now. Right now, but it's only been about maybe 3 or 4 weeks. I get the occasional bloom through the summer, but they don't really kick it up until the fall, and I'm not really sure why that is.
Nothing we can do to get them earlier.
I don't think so. It's because mine, I keep mine going all winter, even under grow lights and all that. So mine don't even really go totally dormant. So I get a real early start, but I don't know. They just don't want to get going. It might be a rejuvenation thing too, where they seem to produce really nicely on really young, vigorous growth, and so I think that's one of the things is they bloom on sort of new growth that's coming out. So always on the tips, and maybe that's what we need to do is rejuvenate them, because I've been trying to get mine taller, by not rejuvenating them. To get more of this pendulous, the blooms are 16 inches long.
Yeah.
So, they hang straight down, and I try to get the thing up high so I can enjoy them and be able to smell the fragrance and all that at nose level. Yeah. And, but I think maybe that's what I'm doing is actually delaying the bloom by letting all that growth mature too much, and it's losing its vigor. I fertilize a fair bit, but, I don't think I fertilize enough.
Okay. Well, thank you so much.
All right.
Thank you, dear. Appreciate the call.
Okay.
Betcha.
Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye now. Just a quick note before we start the garden tip, the tips of the week. The new signs out at the Xeriscape demonstration garden out at the H2O2, not the H2O2, the un-H2O gardens on Gordon Drive there. They're happening. We're going to start now with the tips of the week. Well, my tip of the week is don't get too serious about fall cleanup in the garden. There's a benefit to retaining some of those leaf debris and whatnot. It's the natural process of things. My plant of the week, I've talked about it quite a bit, the Aztekium ritteri. Aztekium ritteri. Look that one up, folks. It's a cool plant, and I own one. I have one in my greenhouse.
You're very lucky.
You betcha.
All righty, I also have a tip on a plant this week. My tip of the week is that it's time to move your plants in. If you have tropicals out on your patios or patio plants, this is the time to do it. I always say around that last week or so of September is about it. Every year is a little different. Check it out. Bring them in. Keep them safe. All right, now my plant of the week is the Euphorbia Sticks of Fire, and it's like this corally, it literally looks like coral growing upright, and these little sticks and stems, and the tips grow this beautiful orangey red color, and it's just a very cool Euphorbia. It's a succulent, and I was just looking at Dawn's there the other day, and it was looking just incredible. I did a little video of it on YouTube, actually. You might want to check that out. And that's my tips and plans for this week. So remember to check Grower Coach on YouTube, Facebook, and growercoach.com.
Speaking of which, Grower Coach, a fabulous YouTube channel to go to. And another one you want to pick up that I've just discovered is called Crime Pays, Botany Doesn't. Have a look at that one, folks. It's quite a fascinating one. He's quite a cool guy. Just like Ken, cool guy. My Shigo moment, my Shigo quote of the week is, we need International Chlorophyll Day.
Mm-hmm.
We need International Chlorophyll Day. Chlorophyll is the lifeblood of humanity, of
the world.
Everything. Without chlorophyll, we're done. See you next week with more of The Garden Show.